Hey comic book fans, it's Rusty again from Collector Auctions, and as you can see in this episode, we're still on the road. We are heading back to Maryland right now, and I'm going to stop in at Hello Comics in Charlottesville, Virginia. In fact, I'm parked right in front of the store right now, and I'm not going to shoot any video in there today because I've shot video in there on the first trip I ever made here, and if I think about it, I will go back and I'll put a link to that at the end of the video so you can watch that. But the store hasn't changed that much, but it is one of my favorite places to stop on my way back up to Maryland for a couple reasons. One is they just have an absolute great back issue bins. I mean, it's not the biggest thing I've ever seen, but it is really well organized and it is very diverse. You can find Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze, Copper, one right after the other in these things. And I have found some really great Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge key comics in there. I've found brand new modern books that are keys. They're littered throughout. The books conditions will range from near mint to very good. I mean it's a whole range of things, but it's just the amount of stuff that you can find in there, and it will take for you forever to go through it. Even though it's really well organized, they have tabs for everything. There's so much to go through, and I'm looking forward to that today. We're going to go through. I don't know what I'm looking for. I do know that if you follow them on Facebook, you will be able to see pictures of what they call Fresh Friday, the books that they put out on Fridays for special discounts. And what I'm going to do, as soon as I go into that store, I'm going to head right to the counter. When you go in the door, you just go right to the left all the way to the far side where the counter is, and you'll see boxes called Fresh Friday. And these are books that they put on Fridays with special discounts, and they have had some really big keys before. I mean, I've seen weekends when they've literally had Hulk 181 and Giant Size X-Men #1 there. Now, I stopped there a week later and they were long gone, of course, but they still have a lot of good books there, and sometimes you can still find some things that are left over. Maybe not the biggest things, but you never know. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to check them out, and like I said, I'm not shooting video today. I'm going to come back, and when I get back in the car, I'll talk about my experience a little bit, and then I'm going to hit the road and head back to Maryland, and then I will show you the books once I'm back in Maryland. So hang on for just a moment. All right, guys, as you can see, I'm in the car, I'm moving, we're heading back to Maryland. I will show you the books once I get there. Yes, I found a lot of great comics today, and I was a little shocked. I wasn't sure how long I was going to spend in there, but I definitely could have spent another hour or two. In fact, I think they were about a half hour away from closing. So I kind of wrapped it up. I found a bunch of keys. I went through their Fresh Friday books. I found a bunch of really good books. Some of them were keys, some of them were just run fillers. And then I started digging through their back issue bins, and I started finding some pretty good books in there as well. I think you'll enjoy the books that I pulled today. So stay tuned. Let me get back to Maryland, and I'll sit down in the studio, and I'll show you all the books that I got today. All right, guys, so I'm back in Maryland, and if you watched my last episode, you know that I was down in West Virginia to my home place, and on my way down there, I stopped off at 2 different antique stores as well as the Secret Lair in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And on my way back, though, I detoured through Charlottesville, Virginia, and I went to a comic book shop that I've talked about before on here called Hello Comics. And that shop I've done multiple stops at this store, but it is out of the way to go back to Maryland that way. But the benefit is definitely going to Raising Cane's and getting some chicken fingers, as well as stopping at the Dairy Queen that's just a few miles north on 29. So I get all my favorite things in one little area on my way back that way. I just have to put up with that DC traffic as I'm going around the Beltway when I go home. But I ended up, because I spent so much time at the shop, I was actually pretty late getting back to Maryland. And by that point, all the rush hour had died down. Luckily, there wasn't a construction, and I got home pretty good. But it gives me a chance now to sit down and go through the books. Now, the one thing that I'm not going to do today is go over values with things getting graded. I'm just going to talk about the books that I got and the potential, because most of these are really good books. I felt were at decent prices, but the conditions are fantastic. And a lot of these are Bronze Age books. Some of them are keys, some of them are not. But even if it's not a key, the condition, if it's fantastic, you can definitely get some value out of that by getting it graded. That's sort of the easy mindset that I've got for these today. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit down and give you all the grades. If you watch my last episode, I went through every comic that I picked up at the antique shops and at the Secret Lair, and I gave you values of what the potential they could be at 9.8s and all that. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to go through the books and show you what I've got. Now, let me back up 1 second. One of the things that made me go to the Secret Lair, the Hello Comics on this way back was they post a couple of days before Friday, every Friday, comics that they're going to put into their what they call Fresh Friday. And it is books they put on sale, and a lot of them can be really big keys as well as just smaller books. And I saw in the photo they had some nice books in there, and I know by the time I get there, this is on Friday, I won't be there until the following Tuesday on my way back up to Maryland. So most of the time, the really, really big stuff is going to be gone, but you never know. There might be some other things, and they definitely have more books in their Fresh Friday bins than just the ones they put in the photos. The ones they put in the photos are all bigger keys, and sometimes they have some of those left, and sometimes I'm able to pick up some of those. But I just wanted to give them a shot. Plus, as I was saying in the video right after I got me out of the shop, they have so many back issues to go through, and it's so well organized. You can find a lot of stuff in it. I was having a good time going through all of those bins, and I just kind of wish I'd had my list of things that I kind of really need. As it was, I just kind of went through and picked out a bunch of stuff that I kind of was interested in. Some of it's for spec, some of it's for run fillers, but good books nonetheless. Let's just go through them and I'll show you what I've got. And I cannot tell you which ones are necessarily from the Fresh Friday. Sometimes you'll find books in there that they'll have for $1 that other places will charge you $3 or $4 for. But then you go to the bins and sometimes you find those same books for $1 there too. And yeah, it's good prices and some good books in here. Let's just go through it. And again, I bought a lot of these on condition. It wasn't like I necessarily needed this book, but when I know the age of the book and I see the condition, I'm like, okay, for $2, I'll pick this up. Like this right here. This is Super Friends number 33. Now, I didn't have a lot of the Super Friends books growing up, although I grew up watching all of the Super Friends, the original Super Friends, all the way from like the early 70s. So, always a fan of this book, or these books, but I never read a lot of them. So, when I find one like this, in fact, this was in their Fresh Friday boxes. They had a couple others there that were not in as good a condition. This is a spine tick free book right here, and I figured, okay, just go ahead and pick it up for a couple bucks. It's not bad to have in the PC, and you never know what the value in something like it is if you can get it graded as 9.8. So, not a huge spec, but just something fun to get. This was also in the boxes. They had issues number 8 of Justice. Of course, you got this Alex Ross beautiful artwork, and issue number 5. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been picking these up at various places for almost nothing. These actually cost $1 a piece. So I've been collecting the whole 12 issues of Justice for $1 a piece, just for fun. I'm going to sit down at some point and get all these together and see how many I have left, and then I'll probably have to go out and get the remaining ones. I'll probably pay a fortune for that. Whatever ones I'm missing, it'll probably cost me a fortune. But no spec on this, but it's just something I wanted to get together to read and for fun. I got into the Watchmen books. I was going to look at some of the original Watchmen books, but to get those, I was actually going to have to open up every one of the books to see how the backs were, if there's any color rub or any defects. And at this point, I was kind of out of time. But I did manage to go through the before Watchmen books, and they had The Minutemen, #1 by Darwin Cook. Now this is apparently, I'm reading the sticker in the front. This is a 1 in 25 variant cover. I'd never seen this. And so I went ahead and picked that up. I mean, that was a whole $2. And then they had issue #4. And I think I've been spotlighting a lot of Darwin Cook artwork over the last few episodes, but it's one of those things where when I find his work and things, I usually don't pass it up. Although what's interesting is they did have all the New Frontier books there, and I passed every one of those up. I don't know what I was thinking. I've got those in the PC, but they're not super valuable, but I kind of want to, I don't know if I've got all the Before Watchmen books by him, that I want to go ahead and try to get all those and read that as well. All right, I'm going to put these down. Now, then I started these are all kind of for fun. Nothing right here was things I was worrying about specking on or anything. But then I started going through and digging through some things that I know have some value. I just don't know right off the top of my head. I didn't know then, but I will know at some point if a 9.8 is if it's worth getting graded, basically. Superman Adventures #1. And you got this, what is it? You got Bruce Timm artwork here. Yeah, I remember this cover. It's a wraparound cover. I'm not going to take it out of the bag here, but beautiful cover. I've got some of the villains on the other side. But I also picked up this. This is Justice League Adventures #1. And I did this basically because it seems like a lot of these original #1 issues from this kind of style of comic, the Bruce Timm style, influence from the animated shows, have been going up in value. Batman Beyond, the Batman Adventures. I know that Superman #1, Superman Adventures #1, if you can get that 9.8, I've done that comic before, and I know you can do pretty good. It's $125, $150 9.8. I know issue #5 of Superman Adventures with Live Wire, the first appearance. Those can be good books. But I figured, go ahead and get Justice League Adventures #1. It's the same style. Let's just go ahead and pick that up. I don't know if there's any spec on that or not, but why not, right? As I'm going around the bins and I'm looking at all the tabs with the names on there, staring me right in the face was a tab that said Invaders. And I don't know what it is, but you just drawn in. The Invaders was always a great book, and they had one of my favorite issues of the whole run was this right here, #17, with Warrior Woman there on the cover. Now, this was not her first appearance, but it was her first cover appearance, and that was always very dramatic and everything. So I picked that up, and I'm sitting there. They had a pretty big batch. I mean, it was a big giant stack of these books, and I mean, I read the Invaders here and there, but I didn't have a lot of them growing up. I had issues 3 and 4, and then sporadically I had a couple issues here and there. And even though I said I love the book, I never went back and tried to finish the run. Turns out there's only 41, maybe 42 issues. I didn't realize it was just that few, but I was going through there, and I'm going, I wonder what keys there are in this book. So I actually pulled up Key Collector app, and I pulled it up. So I literally went down and I started pulling out not only keys. Well, I pulled out keys, but I pulled out really good copies of keys. These are not dog-eared. These aren't. You have maybe a minor spine tick, but even if it was that, I kind of put it back. These are really nice copies. This is issue #23. This is the first appearance of the Scarlet Scarab. Did we see that? Wasn't there another character in one of the Thor issues that came around? There was something about that. I remember reading the app. There was something about that. But this was a first appearance. Then you've got this great crossover with Thor. Issue #32. And it's a Hitler cover too, and it's all Jack Kirby right there. And issue 33 was a follow-up. It's not as big of a key as the one before that, but it's still a pretty big key. You got this Kirby cover there. And then I'm digging through. I turn around, and there's the Defenders tab looking at me. And I was like, okay, let's just see how good, what you can find in these bins. I mean, a lot of these, you're not going to find the big keys still in the regular bins. You're going to find those on the wall or behind the counter or something like that. But I go to the Defenders and I'm like, okay, here's a pretty decent copy of number 17. This is the first appearance of the Wrecking Crew. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. They literally had, now this was one of the more expensive books. They had a $13 price tag on that. And this is a really nice copy right there. Now they had the next issue, which is the first full appearance, but it was a little bit more beaten up, so I didn't take that one. But I'm thumbing through and I'm going, okay, here's issue number 84, and this is the first time you've got Namor fighting the Black Panther. Now, this book got really hot before the Black Panther movie came out, and I'm sure this has died down, but this is still a pretty decent little key right there. And these are the kind of things you can find in every one of these bins. You can find books like this all over the place. You just have to go find it. Let's see. I picked this up. I don't remember. I don't think I ever had this. This is Phoenix In Song number 1 for $1. And I'm sorry, but you got a Greg Land cover with Jean Grey as Phoenix there. That's outstanding. And here's a book. I keep picking this up when it's virtually the people are giving it to me. This is Justice League of America number 10, the Michael Turner cover with Wonder Girl right there. And it's like, again, this is one that gets spotlighted on other channels all the time. And can't go wrong with Michael Turner and Beautiful Women, and especially when you do Power Girl like that. All right, now these I bought because of the condition. You've got issue number 12 of the Mighty Avengers. This is I want to say this is the first issue of one of the first issues of Secret Invasion. Of course, it's a homage to Avengers number 4. And then this one was a pretty decent key. I remember pulling this out on my PC to consider getting it graded. This is number 13, and this is a homage to Avengers number 16. And for $3, and the fact is there's no spine takes over. This is both of these are really sharp copies. I don't remember what the spec is on this anymore, but I know at one point this was the book to get graded, and I never did because the book I had definitely had a spine takeover in there, and I didn't want to get a 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. I wanted that 9.8, so we didn't do that. And then the last two books on here were a couple of the books that were actually featured in the photo from Fresh Friday, the most recent Fresh Friday that they posted on their Facebook page. And I was going to get one of them. Well, it turned out they actually had 2 copies of the same thing, and I'll just show you what it is. It is Batman 655. I got 2 of them here. And this is the first cameo appearance of Damian Wayne. Now, let's turn that just a little. Is that good? Nope. Oop. There you go. I don't want that light shining in your face, guys. I never had this, but I did have the next issue. This is the next issue where you have Damian on the cover. I'd had that one, and I've gotten that one graded before, and I got my 9.8, and I actually sold it for a pretty decent price, but I never had this one. And when I had 2 copies there, and I didn't think it, for $30 a piece, I didn't think that was bad. Even in today's market, I didn't bother to look it up really, but I, again, went on condition knowing that this is a key comic book. So, and they're going to spotlight that character, I think, in the James Gunn universe on The Brave and the Bold. So we'll see where that goes, and we'll see if this ends up being bigger, pretty good spec book at this point. It's still a pretty good spec book. But that was everything that I ended up getting from Hello Comics in Charlottesville, Virginia. Again, I love going to the shop. I love stopping at Raising Cane's afterwards and stopping in Dairy Queen on the way back up 29 as I head back up to DC and up to Baltimore. So it was a good trip. It ended up being a long trip because I spent so much time at the shop. I was probably about an hour, close to an hour and a half going through all the bins and everything. And it was taking a while, and I could have stayed there, like I said, another hour, but they were getting ready to close, and this is already by 5:30 at this point. So Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the comics. Definitely leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the books that I got today. And if you're ever interested in any of the books I show off on the channel, definitely check out what I currently have for sale on eBay and in my eBay store or on my Shortbox page. But if you want to just reach out to me and ask if anything's available, definitely collectorauctions@yahoo.com, or you can always DM me on my Instagram account. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed everything. Definitely hit that like button, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my episodes that I put out every week, Mondays and Fridays. And that's it. I'm out of here, guys. You guys take care, and I will see you for the next episode. Just remember, though, every comic has a story.